Alright, so a very good day to everyone. Today we'll be sort of presenting on how to write and do your reporting for your action research. But before we start, let us see what is the difference between proposal and also report. Okay, so for proposal it is actually before you conduct the research, more or less when you wanted to kind of like justify why you wanted to do your research. In proposal, you write about what will take place because you haven't done your research yet. And you use future verb tenses such as will to describe the projections. And usually in proposal, it ends with methods and procedures. And usually in proposal, it only consists of like 3 chapters, introduction, literature review, and also your methodology. And as for report, it was done after the research, meaning that you already done your action research, your whatever research you're trying to do, and it writes about what has taken place, which means it uses past tense, just like, for example, was to describe the event that has already occurred, and it incorporates results and future research directions after collecting and analyzing the data. So for report, it has, if I'm not mistaken, introduction, your literature review, your methodology, and it will also have your findings, which is the data analysis, and the future research direction. And when you are writing a report, you need to make sure that you have all 9 sort of elements in your report. The first one would be the context or the background, which is the introduction. The second one is the literature review. The third one, focus or aspect of the practice to improve. Next is the implementation of the action plan. What you are doing, your phases of doing the action research, and then your data collection methods, which is your methodology, what kind of methods you use to collect your data or to conduct your action research. Your data analysis and also interpretation, meaning that when you have collected all of your data, you will analyze and you will sort of interpret what does your data mean and how does it contribute to your action research. 7 is the reflection and also implications, how your action research actually helps the community, whether it helps the student, it helps the teachers, or it helps us in kind of like improving ourselves. Second last one was the plan for further action, meaning that after you have conducted your action research, what are you going to do to kind of like enhance more on your findings and make another research to kind of like help you. And the last one is the citation of references, which will be used will be wrote in APA style. Okay, next will be on action research report. The report mainly take form of a thesis, dissertation, journal, article, and a paper to be prescribed at a professional meeting. And action research varies in format and style. Dissertation and thesis are more elaborate, while research papers for journal, articles, and professional meetings are more precise and concise. Meaning that for thesis, usually people will, usually thesis consists of more than 30 pages because it must be very elaborate. And journal articles or research for kind of like publication, mostly at most would be only 20 pages. Okay, next we'll go to the format of the action research. Okay, so for the format, it refers to the general pattern of organization and arrangement of the report. It is an outline that includes sections and subsections, or chapters and subchapters, or headings and subheadings, whichever you call it, followed to write the research report. And then all research reports follows a format that is parallel to the steps involved in conducting the study. Meaning that, okay, first you will do your introduction, right? So before you actually start your research, you have to know what you are trying to conduct, what you are trying to research on. So your format of writing a report, it must follow the flow. Excuse me. Okay, and APA is widely followed because it actually eliminates formal footnotes. Because if you notice, sometimes when you read some articles that do not follow the APA style, you see that small one or two, there's like a numbers, right? Small numbers on the paragraph. That is a formal footnotes. But using APA style, it actually eliminates that, which means that you kind of like you will write in the writer, the name of the writer for the paragraph that you cite. And then it provides detailed information about research format, um, for types of research report on various behavioral and social science disciplines. Okay, and next would be on style. Okay, style, it refers to the rules of spelling, capitalization, punctuations, and typing followed in preparing the report. For style, it depends on your if it was for us, it depends on your lecturer. Sometimes the lecturer wants you to use maybe Times New Roman for the font, and maybe Arial, and then be like double spacing, 1.5 spacing. It depends on your lecturer for us students, so you have to follow that style when you are preparing the report. All right, so I'll pass this to my friend to continue.
Okay, thank you. So the next one is rules in writing action research report. Okay, so the first thing first is um, the first thing is you should write a report that the report that you write should be presented in creative, clear, and comprehensive style. The description for your report should be free from bias, ambiguity, and also vagueness. Vagueness. Okay, so actually the ideas should be presented clearly in order for the reader to read your report without any difficulties and without any difficulties. And the second one is your report should be written in a clear, simple, and straightforward style, which means the sentence that you write should be grammatically correct, and slangs such as gutter, etc. should be avoided. The third one is research report is a scientific document. Therefore, it is not the same when we are writing a novel, for example. So for our report, it should not contain any subjective and emotional statement, and also it should only contain objective statement because it is a scientific document. Moving on to the next point. For the fourth, for the another rules is sexist language should be replaced by non-sexist language. For example, male or female nouns and pronouns he and she should be avoided by using plurals. This is to avoid kind of biasness. For example, another example is when we are using the words a child or his father, we should replace with children and their father to avoid this using to avoid this biasness. The next one is use the last name of the cited authors. For example, if the name of the author is Professor John Dewey, we should only write his last name, which is Dewey. So the next one is to avoid using constructed forms of model auxiliaries and abbreviation. For example, the words shouldn't, can't, and couldn't should be avoided because it is in a should be it should be avoided. And also, this exception only occur for well-known abbreviations such as IQ. Abbreviation is actually the short form of words, so we should avoid using the short form of any words in our report. The next one is use of tense. So we usually use past tense, which we use for review literature and also literature review, and also for the present tense is appropriate for discussing our results of our analysis. So the next one is economy of expression, which means long sentences should be avoided. Our ideas should be presented just presented in a short form, short sentences only. And then the next one is fractions and numbers, which are less than 10 should be expressed in words. I think this one is kind of straightforward, the points, which means, for example, if you want to write 6, we should write it in words rather than in numbers. So next one is another rules is our report should not be written in a hurry. For example, we should revise our report many times in order for us to know whether there is any mistake or grammatical mistake in our report, so that we have time to improve or to correct the mistakes. The 11th point, which is I think the most important, one of the most important thing is we need to follow the rules of typography. This one is for in terms of our writing, the font we should use Arial size 11, spacing double space, and we need to justify the margin 2.5 cm on top, down and right, and for 4.0 centimeter from left. But this one is, I think nowadays we use size 12, right? Because this one I think is the not the newest one. Okay, so I think that's all from 4 rules. Moving on to the next one.
Okay, so for the next one, mechanism of action research. Yeah, next. Okay, so mechanism of action research this can be divided into 3 sections. The first section is preliminary pages, and the second one is main body of the report, and the last one is appendices. For preliminary pages, next slide. Okay, for preliminary pages, it has the title page, supervisor's verification, declaration, dedication, acknowledgement, abstract, content, list of tables, figures, appendices, and abbreviation. Let's take a look of this one by one, okay? Okay, for the first one is the title. The title of the report, it should include the author's name, the degree requirement, name of university, and date of submission. The name, designation, and institutional affiliation of the guide are also written. And then the title should be typed in capital letter. And the title should be indented like this is the examples, the title over there. Okay. The next one is, next slide. Okay. The second one is supervisor's verification. A thesis should to be submitted for the purpose of examination must obtain prior declaration by the supervisor on the standard and quality of the thesis. So yeah, we need the verification from our supervisor for this one. And the third one is, I'm sorry, declaration over here. For declaration, the researcher declares of the originality of the research. So the researcher must done his own research without cheating or plagiarism, and this declaration should be signed. The fourth one is dedication. This one is just a short paragraph, one paragraph. It is personal rather than academic recognition. And the fifth one is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is for those people who significantly contributed to the computation of the report. And usually it's for the acknowledgement for the supervisors, teachers, students, or principal of the school that give the data. The next one Okay, the next one is abstract. The abstract should not be more than 250 words. It should be only one page, and it should include the title, focus, the participants, method, findings, reflection, and suggestion. Just a short one to like use the report, and the keyword should be given. Also, the abstract should be written in bilingual, English and Bahasa Melayu. Next one. Okay, so for next one is content. Table of content is an outline of the report which indicate page on each chapter. The entries of the table of content should be written identical to heading and subheading in the report. It should not be written like differently. And the next one is list of tables, figures, appendices, and abbreviation. This also should be separated in one page, and the title should be the same also with the title given in the body of the report. Table title should be put on top of the title, on top of the table, I'm sorry, and figure title should be at the bottom of the figure. For example, one, and then you put the table below. And for appendices, the appendices should be written in with alphabets. For example, like appendix A, appendix E, A, and then appendix B. And then, okay, for main body of the report, this one we have like discussed this one before in class. We have introduction, research focus with the selection of research focus, initial data collection, and then we have objective and research question. And the fourth one, we have the research participant, who are the participant of our report. And then we have the research implementation, including all our research method. And the sixth one is the findings of our report. And then we have the reflection. And finally, the suggestion for further research. And we also have the references and appendices. Go through this because we only okay, on the mechanism, sorry. Okay, for the appendices, usually examples of appendices, the title should be on top left here and followed by the title, short title here. Subject index that include all important concept used in the report. For appendices, we also include the subject index that we have in our report, and appendices also named alphabetically followed by a short title like this one. Okay, and then, all right, I think that's it for me.
Okay, so thank you. And before we end this presentation, we'll go for the references and also bibliography. We need to see what is the difference between the two of them. Okay, so for references, it consists of all documents that are cited in the research. For example, books, journals, articles, newspapers. And references usually includes mainly primary sources. The difference between references in bibliography is that in bibliography you put everything that you use while writing your report. Either you cite it or you not cite it in your report. Meaning that, for example, you look through the internet to see how to maybe write your literature review. So you have to kind of like, if you are writing a bibliography, you have to include that source of that source of info also in your report. But for references, when you're writing actual research, you usually put in only the one that you cite. For example, the articles or the newspapers that you cite in your literature review or maybe in your background. So that one you have to include in the references. And for bibliography, it can be both primary and secondary sources, meaning that, for example, you use some info from an article, but the info from the article is not the primary sources of the research. But if you're writing bibliography, you can include that as well. And for references, usually we arrange it in alphabetical order, and each entry of the references starts at the left margin of the page. You can see here 4.4 references, the first one A, and then the second one, if you have a name starts with B, you start it with B, and it follows. And when you are writing your research, the second meaning that you have one sentence, and then the second sentence on under it, it has to kind of like move a bit to the side, to the right side. All right, okay, and I think that is all for our presentation on how to kind of writing your report. If you have any questions, you can ask through our WhatsApp group, and we'll try and answer if we can. That will be all for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.